Welcome to the Rock the Stage Show. Each week, international media expert Rich Bontrager has in-depth and personal conversations with celebrities, top leaders, authors, speakers, and media professionals. Now, from the Rock the Stage studios, here's your host, the Trigger, Rich Bontrager.
Welcome back to another edition of Rock the Stage Show. It's Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And yes, we're back again for another fascinating conversation. And believe me, this may unlock you personally a little bit, especially if you have a business or company, because we're going to talk about creativity tonight. But before we get into creativity, don't forget, we're expanding. We're going bigger and bigger at Rock the Stage. We're now streaming on Roku TV, Amazon Fire, IPTV, and of course, the Brave Arts TV network. So if you have any of those channels, go find us, add us to your favorites, and come back each and every week for another unscripted and highly in-depth conversation with some global leaders. And tonight, we're going around the globe once again. But let me ask you, are you a creative? Have you ever wondered about the global differences of creativity and how other countries or their people view and think about creativity, or even how they see things? And let me ask you this. What if creativity had no boundaries, no borders? What if the key to unlocking the most innovative ideas wasn't in your mind, but actually in the minds of people halfway around the globe? Wouldn't that be kind of cool? Well, tonight we're exploring how different cultures spark creativity, the surprising ways we've all connected, and the individuals and organizations, what they can learn to thrive in today's global idea economy. Get ready to see creativity maybe through a whole new lens tonight. Fredrik Heren, known as the Creative Explorer, is with us tonight. He is a global keynote speaker who has spoken in over 75 countries on creativity, innovation, and embracing global mindset. He's the author of 10 books, including the Idea book and an upcoming book, which we're going to talk about tonight, The World of Creativity. So welcome tonight to Rock the Stage Show from his home. Here's Fredrik Haren. Fredrik, great to have you with us.
I'm very happy to be with you.
And we mentioned that you're in your home, but people are looking at you going, no, he's outside, Rich, you're an idiot. But you actually have the coolest office. You have a clear geodome, don't you?
This is, yeah, you're correct. It's a geometric dome, and it's on top of my house. I live on an island in Sweden, and my house is on the island, and on top of the house is my geometric dome. And that's where my office is. So I can leave my home, I go up the stairs, and now I'm in my office. And it feels like I'm sitting outside, but I'm sitting inside. And you're seeing the bad view. I have the good view.
I was going to say, I've seen video, and you pan back, and it's gorgeous. Plus, you have your own island. Doesn't everyone dream of having their own island?
Well, if you do dream of having your own island, you should move to Sweden. We have 25% of all the islands in the world are in Sweden. We have 265,000 islands in this country. And not only do I own one, I actually own two of them. So I live on one, and the other one I rent out.
Yeah, you have a vacation island and a home island.
You can never have too many islands.
You can never have too many. So let's get into this whole creativity thing. I love the topic of creativity. I've been around creative people all my life. But before we get really deep into this, what is your definition of creativity? Because I'm sure there's many out there, but what's Fredrik's definition of creativity?
Well, okay. So creativity is a process, but I change my definitions all the time, because I don't think there should be a definition about creativity, because it's impossible to get all these different aspects of creativity into one definition. So lately, I've been starting to say that creativity is what makes us human. And that is a bit of a cheating when it comes to the definitions, but I really like it, because it shows, first of all, it shows that what makes us human versus animals is that we are more creative than they are. We are by far the most creative species. And also, I would argue that we never feel more alive, more human, than when we have a really, really good idea. Actually, you could argue we never feel more divine than when we have a really good idea.
Now, I've heard you talk about that before. God is creative, the creator of all things, if you have a faith-based mindset. But that idea of if God is creative, we are creative. There's some connection there, right?
I have interviewed so many creative people that talk about this connection, and it's not about religion or faith or not. No, it doesn't matter if these people believe in God or if they don't believe in God. They still talk about ideas as something coming from outside of them. I interviewed one sculptor in Hong Kong, and he talked about divine ideas and mortal ideas. Mortal ideas is ideas that come from your brain. It's like, oh, I think I'm going to make pasta today. Okay, that's a mortal idea. It comes from your brain. It's not very advanced. But a divine idea is not something you come up with. It's something that comes to you. And when you get one of those, it feels like it's being delivered to you. The best idea I ever had in my life was a divine idea, and it came to me in a dream, as a nightmare. And that turned into a novel. And when that novel was published, I told the publisher, I don't want my name on this book. I don't want it to say by Fredrik Haren. I wanted to say as received by Fredrik Haren, because that's how it felt.
Oh.
And I've heard this so many times from creative people that they are just messengers or vessels for their best ideas.
That's how I try to describe it to people. When I get a creative download, it usually is in a dream state. I wake up, grab my phone, leave a message, tell my mind to remember what I dreamt about. But there is something about those downloads, and you're right, they're very inspiring, energizing, aren't they?
They are. They are the most beautiful of ideas. And that's the funny thing. They are always beautiful.
So let's shift a little bit, because I also have this quote connected to you. Creativity is the critical business skill that will help move us forward. So you're linking now creativity and business.
You're right. And that sounds like something I've written to sell more speeches or something. But yeah, sure. But I mean, if you look at it, if your less philosophical answer is that creativity is a process of solving human problems, and businesses solve human problems for a fee, right? So if we didn't have creativity, we would still be living in caves, and we would be cold and hungry. So all the human progress has come through creativity, and the process of coming up with ways of improving our world is what creativity is all about. And the funny by-effect of it is not only are we coming up with ways of making our world better, while we do that, we feel happier and more content, because creativity in itself makes us happy. That's the bonus.
Do you think businesses realize that there is a joy factor connected to being a creative business?
I think everyone who started a business understands this. There's such drive in an entrepreneur that starts a business. And then after a while, maybe businesses become more of organizations and more structural vehicles for, I don't know, quarterly profits or something. But generally, I mean, I've spoken to over 1 million people and hundreds, thousands of leaders. Generally, leaders, businesses highly appreciate the value of creativity. What they struggle with is trying to get people to become more creative. But that's a universal struggle.
So let's go there for a second. What's the blockage? The CEO, the whoever leads the charge in creativity, but there's something about a blockage at the lower level, so to speak, to bring the creativity out and let it be released. Why is that?
Actually, I don't believe it's only on the lower level. I actually think that many leaders, the higher up they become in the organization, the less creative they become, because they become more afraid of making mistakes. Yeah. So this fear of being creative because something might go wrong is everywhere in organizations, unfortunately.
Right.
I think it's the least. It is the least in people who are like self-employed artists, solopreneurs, and because they are not, they invest in themselves, and then they do what they want to do.
That's probably true. The higher up, there's more weight on their shoulders. They don't feel they have the freedom they used to be when it was just them in their garage, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, but then again, if you look at some people who really master it, they learn to hire other people to do the things that maybe take some weight off their shoulders. The most inspiring CEOs I've ever interviewed are the ones that say, my job is, I don't have an agenda. I have nothing I need to do. My job as a CEO is just to think what's next for the company and to find out and talk to people and find out the latest trends. They have very little meetings and they just spend their time trying to think about the next thing to do. Of course, for anyone, there's a balance between being creative and not being creative. We should not be creative every single moment of that we are awake. That would be exhausting, first of all, and probably we can't do it. It would be like saying we would always be running. It's impossible. So the trick, I think, is to be mindful about when you are creative to make sure you get the most out of it.
Yeah.
And I call that grasping opportunities. I don't know if you know this. Sorry, I'm babbling away here, but the word opportunity is one of my favorite words when it comes to etymology. Do you know the meaning of the word opportunity?
No, I do not.
I mean, you know the meaning, but you know the etymology of the word.
No, please.
It's beautiful. It's a name of a storm. Like you have a typhoon, or you have a breeze, like different names for different kinds of winds. An opportunity is a specific kind of wind, and it is all the way back to the Roman times. An opportunity means the wind that takes you back to the harbor. It's the right wind. You've been out there sailing for months. You're almost starving to death. You have no water, and suddenly here comes the right wind. The one will bring you home again. The wind that brings you back to your harbor. That's the meaning of it. And that means that when that wind comes, you still need to hoist the sails. You need to get everyone on board. You need to that's why you need to grasp the wind before the wind is gone. Isn't that beautiful?
That's actually amazing, but now it also makes sense when you talk about the winds of opportunity, the winds of change. It makes a lot more sense.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Now, you have gone and explored over 70 different countries, exploring the world of creativity in those countries. What's one of the most common similarities as you traveled and learned? What brings the world of creativity together globally?
You realize that humanity is a very paradoxical thing. Everywhere you go, it's different, and still everywhere you go, it's the same. I was just in Bhutan. So Bhutan, the little country next to India, there's like the real Shangri-La, the country with the gross happiness product and all of that. It costs $200 a day just to get into the country because they don't want they don't want mass tourism. And I'm in that city, and it's very calm. I don't think they have a single traffic light in the capital city. And you're in there, and then by chance, I happened to go to a meeting with a web design agency, like an interactive web design agency. And I walk up the stairs, and boom, it looks just like any other web design agency anywhere in the world. And I've been to them in Ulaanbaatar, in Silicon Valley, in New York, in Berlin. There's an orange wall painted. There's a logo on the wall. There's a pool table. There's Star Wars figures next to the computers. And it looks just the same. A web designer is a web designer, no matter where they live. It's amazing. And then I walk up through the door, and boom, I'm in Shangri-La again.
That is okay. That's a great example of we are all the same. But I mean, Star Wars in Shangri-La. Come on, Star Wars figure. That's a great way to show that we really. Did that surprise you? I mean, there you are.
No, it didn't surprise me because years ago, I don't know, just before the pandemic, I was in North Korea. And I went to North Korea because I wanted to understand creativity in the most isolated country in the world.
Yeah.
And when I was there, I met with a guide who's been there for 10 years. And I said, tell me something I will not learn by being here for 5 days. And he said, they are just like us. 80% anywhere you go, 80% of people are nice people who want the best for themselves, for their family, for their neighbors, for their city, for their country, and for anyone in the world. We are all the same. 80% are like that. 20% are assholes. The problem is that in some countries, some assholes are in charge. And I think that's a wonderful description.
And that's another commonality between all countries of the world.
80% of people are everywhere you go, 80% are nice, decent people, creative people trying to do the best for everyone. And then you have a few assholes. And they ruin for the rest of us.
So in all your global travels, which culture or country maybe challenged you the most on what they were doing with creativity and how they did creativity? Was there anyone that maybe pushed your buttons or took you where you didn't know you were going to go?
I don't think anyone has pushed my buttons because the whole reason I go around is because I want to understand different ways of looking at creativity. So no, I like to tell the example of China, because I used to live in China for a few years, and everyone in the West look at China as, oh, they're not creative. All they do is copy. They look at what we do, and you have the Chinese Google and the Chinese Twitter and the Chinese copy anything. They just copy us.
Yep.
But then I met this very young Chinese lady, they are very creative in China. She's a super creative woman. And she said to me, Fredik, you Westerners, you're obsessed with us. You only talk about it. You talk about creativity like you're the only one who have it. And then she said this, Fredik, it's not about copyright. It's about copying right. And I think that is beautiful. That is it's so profound. And the reason it provokes a lot of people is that, no, you're not supposed to copy. You're supposed to be original. But here's the thing. Every single idea ever generated in the history of mankind is a copy of a previously known idea. Every single one. Like people say, how about Einstein? E equals mc squared. Well, sorry. Without Copernicus, without Galileo, without Newton, there would be no Einstein, right? So Newton said it. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. Everyone copies. The trick is how to copy and to copy right, to take the best inspiration from what other people are doing and then build your own thing based on the inspiration that you receive. The problem is that a lot of Westerners are not going to look at what they're doing in China because they think all they do is copy. But the Chinese Google and the Chinese Twitter is way more advanced than Google and Twitter. And Elon Musk is now desperately trying to turn X into what the Chinese have already done. And I'm not saying all they do in China is great. It's not. Right. But what they can do on the internet, we can only dream of in the West. So we should copy more, but we should copy right.
Well, there's nothing new under the sun. You just proved that, right?
Yeah.
Now, within the business world, what can leaders do to foster more creativity? They give the freedom to their teams and people to say, you can be free, be creative. Let me hear it. Well, what can leaders do to get the engine started better?
Well, they can do what you just told them to do. Let them be more free. But what they can do, a very practical thing they can do, they can look at all the rules they have in the company and they can reduce it by 50%. I heard about a bank in Singapore. They have rules for how long the socks should be. Like, how on earth does that make the bank more ethical or more productive or more anything? It doesn't. No. You could have a rule that says, in this bank, we dress respectfully. That's all you need. You don't have to tell them the length of the socks. The problem is every time you do that, suddenly people have to remember all these rules and they have to follow all these rules, which takes up a lot of brain capacity just not to try to screw up, which of course is stupid.
Which it is. Now, you're an author, multiple books. You have a new book coming out. But here's another great quote that I heard and saw about you. You don't get more creative by reading a book. You get more creative by doing creative things. So as part of the business problem is stop overthinking it and start doing it?
It definitely is. It definitely is in the sense that creativity is not having ideas, it's making ideas happen. So yes, creativity is very much about doing things. And of course, I'm trying to provoke. I mean, I write books about creativity. Of course, I think you should read creativity books. But I have interviewed some of the most creative people on the planet, and they do not do creativity exercises. I'm sorry if I burst a bubble here, but they just don't do that. So yes, I am a little bit skeptical about creativity exercises as a way to become more creative. People get creativity is inspired. So when I write my creativity books, I write insights and lessons about how the creative process works, and I write inspiration from creative people. I don't give you an exercise on how to do like that and do like this.
Now let's talk about the new book. The new book of The World of Creativity. What inspired you to write the book? Where did that one come from?
The definition of explore, to venture into unknown territory in order to learn more about it, right? So I go around the world and I interview people who have never been interviewed about creativity to learn new things about the creative process. Like I said, from North Korea to South Korea and everything in between. Now, if you do that, once in a while, an explorer has to go back home and tell the people that he left what he found. And that's what I do through speeches. But then I said, you know what? I should take the best of these and I should turn that into a book. So it's 37 chapters, 37 insights about the creative process from 37 different countries. from Switzerland to from a Swiss watchmaker to the slums of Mumbai and everything in between.
What's the one aha moment for you from all those interviews? What's the one that sticks out?
There are 37 aha moments. That's why they made it into the book. So I can pick anyone. You know, pick a country. We'll see if it's in the book. I'll give you that lesson.
Oh wow, Iceland. Okay,
Iceland. Iceland is in the book. So that's a beautiful example, actually. In Iceland, they have a word called heimskur. Heimskur. It's my favorite word at the moment. What does heimskur mean? Well, if you were an Icelandic Viking 1,000 years ago, you're supposed to sail down to Europe and you were supposed to steal, steal, I don't know, sheep and gold and weapons. But more importantly, you were supposed to steal ideas. You're supposed to pick up new ways of doing things. How do they farm in Denmark? How do they make weapons in Turkey? And then you take those ideas, you bring it back to Iceland, to your farm. If you did not do that, then you were a heimskur. Heimskur means idiot, moron, stupid person. Basically, someone who never, and heim comes from the word home. Home, heim, you can almost hear it. So someone who always stays at home becomes stupid is basically the lesson. Ooh. And that, yes. So if you don't want to be a heimskur, you need to leave your home. And your home can be your culture, it can be your country, it can be your industry, it can be your expertise, it can be anything. But if you just stay at home and think this is where we know how to do things best, you become stupid.
Wow. And you're never home because you're always traveling the world, meeting new and interesting people, aren't you?
I spend a lot of time at home too. I live isolated on an island because here's the thing. If you're always inspired, I don't create anything, because inspire means to breathe in. If you're constantly breathing in, sooner or later, you're going to die. You also need to breathe out. Creativity is to breathe out, to get something out. So I travel a lot, 15 to 35 countries per year, but I also spend months and months and months on my island. And that's why I write my books, because I also need to breathe out sometimes.
Oh, now here's another great quote. I love finding and you have a lot of great quotes, man. You have a lot of them. Creativity is flirting with your own mind. I love that. Tell me more.
Well, actually, that's a sanitized version of a very, very creative man called Alexander Bard, which is, I don't know, he's an author, he's a philosopher, but he's also a pop music. He was part of Army of Lovers, which was very famous in the 1990s. The first time I met him, he said, and you might want to beep this out, but we had a conversation for an hour, and after that he said, "Fuck your brain." And I said, you know what? I said, okay, let me read. That's one of the best compliments I've ever received from anyone. And right. I said, I understand exactly what you mean. And then I rewrote that quote in a bit more sanitized way.
So we live in a global economy now, and we're more connected than ever before, especially after pandemic, because everyone is on virtual meetings and doing things. Do you think there is a friendly competition now of being more creative, that each side is pushing each other because we're more collaborative now?
I think we are becoming more collaborative, even though the last few years seems to have become very much about isolationism. But I am absolutely convinced that this is just a temporary reaction to trying to stop what's happening. So yes, I think we're becoming more collaborative, and I don't think what's happening right now is going to last for much longer. Is it a healthy competition? I think it is a healthy competition, but what people don't understand is that it is a competition. Right. Today, we have, like, I don't know, what is it, 40% of 600 or 700 million people have gone to university, right? It's crazy, a large amount of. So now you have, and these people have access to all the information in the world thanks to the internet. So we have more people with more knowledge and access to more information and an easy way to communicate their ideas with other people. That means that, yes, there is an insane amount of more ideas generated per second now than 100 years ago. And people need to understand this. It's simple math.
Are we capturing those, though? Are we
saving them?
Are we working them through?
Yes, and it doesn't matter. People say, look at the speed of AI. It's amazing, crazy how fast the world of AI is developing. Yeah. Why? because we have AI, we now have AI scientists all over the world. The thing is, this is true for every other industry as well. We just don't talk about it. So yes, but if you are, again, if you're an hemsker, if you just sit in your part of the world and look at, and you don't travel to see what's happening elsewhere, or you don't have to travel, but you need to be curious to see, how are they doing plumbing in Singapore right now? I need to figure, if you're a plumber. Now, if you're not looking at these things and picking these ideas up, I'll give you a sad example.
Okay.
I used to live in Singapore for 17 years. Then I moved back to Sweden. Sweden is supposed to be a highly developed country. We don't have a single airport in Sweden that has automated passport control machines. Not a single one. Singapore's had it for years. Actually, Singapore has fully automated it. There are no humans checking passports unless there's something wrong with the passport. Everyone scans them. I was just last week in Sweden. I was stuck for 20 minutes in this stupid human passport control mechanism. And finally, I go up to them, and it's my turn. And I tell them, why on earth haven't you automated this? Countries all over the world already have this. Why don't you have it? And I in the queue, I was Googling. It turns out that Mongolia has it. How on earth can Mongolia have automatic passport control and Sweden not have it? And I told her this. And she said, oh, that's cute. That's her reaction.
Wow.
I know. And that is just ignorance from thinking you're the best in the world when you're not anymore. Sweden is an underdeveloped country when it comes to automatic passport controls. And we are not even thinking of testing it yet. It's crazy. And we could use the same with how you Americans are still using checks. I mean, we can go and every country is screwed in how stupid they are not picking up the best ideas. Why are we not doing this? This is a bug in the human computer system.
So is this resistance to embracing good ideas because we didn't come up with it? What is it, do you think?
Yeah, it's a lot of that. And of course, it's also the fact that everyone is very stressed at work and have too much to do, and they don't want to start another project. So they say, you know what, let's not do it. We don't have time. We don't have resources. But it's stupid, because the people who did say, let's do that, will release, like Singapore, would release so many resources that don't have to sit and look at passports anymore. And those people can now do more intelligent border control. So it is worth it. Creativity, per definition, is worth it. We just need to sit down and prioritize better.
Now, I'm going to use an example of Apple. Apple is known for their creative worlds. They have playgrounds. They have areas to go think outside. They have bouncy balls to sit on. They have an amazing whole world they created for their people to be free to dream, to think. Do you think that's that could be duplicated over and over again, or is that kind of an Apple thing that they really pioneered and that's unique to their culture? How much of this creativity is culture-based versus we can replicate it?
Well, first of all, I think every culture has a specific kind of DNA when it comes to how they innovate. So, for example, if you use Apple as an example, it's influenced by how Steve Jobs relentlessly questioned everything and say, we can do it better. But then you have a company like Sweden. We have IKEA, or IKEA, as you like to say. And they are all about making it as cheap as possible. How can we save a little bit more money in the production of this, whatever it is, in order to make it cheaper for our customers? It's all about cheap. So if someone has worked at IKEA for 20 years and then changes to Apple, that person might struggle, because Apple is not about making it as cheap as possible. It's about making it as good as possible. IKEA is making it good by making it cheap. So you have different cultures of innovation, and a company should identify what is our culture of innovation and then double down on that culture. And that might not be, pinball machines or bouncy balls or whatever. It might not be at all what thrives. Like, for me, it's nature. That's why I built my office as a geometric dome.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Is this, how important is that to you to have the 360 outdoors experience? How important is that to Fredrik for his own creativity journey?
It's actually not that. The geometric dome is not the most important thing. The most important thing for me is that the geometric dome is located on a private island, which means no one will come and disturb me when I'm here. I'm an introvert. I do not like other people unless I've chosen to meet other people. So by sitting on an island, I can isolate myself from the rest of the world. Not like, mentally and just sit here by myself. And I'm not even in Sweden when I'm on the island. I'm just on this island by itself. And then I'm surrounded by water, which tends to trigger my creativity. But then I also travel to 15 to 35 countries per year because I thrive. My creativity thrives on meeting new people all the time. So there's a balance. I need one or the other. Do you see? If I just sat on this island and never talked to another person, my creativity would go down.
I love the dichotomy of that. I like being alone on my island, but I have to be out in the world.
Exactly. That's for me. For you, it might sound extremely boring and stressful, or for someone else, it might sound. But that's my point. My point is not that this is how you should be creative, and that's why we shouldn't copy Apple either. We should build a creative environment that works for us. That's what we should do. That's the only question we should ask ourselves. Then we can ask how are other companies doing it to get inspiration. That's fine. But we shouldn't copy someone. We should copyright, remember?
So how important is uniqueness to creativity in all your journeys of being unique in yourself and everything else? Does it help that to embrace your uniqueness?
Yeah, I just got that question yesterday, and I said, someone said, so creativity is about you being unique. And I said, no, it's actually not about being unique. Creativity is about being authentic. And because you are different than everyone else, if you are authentically you will, per definition, be unique because no one else is like you. But we should not aim for being unique. We should aim to be authentic.
I like that. Now, let me switch gears here because you are also an amazing accomplishment. You have been inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame on 2 different continents. How did you achieve that, first of all? That sounds pretty incredible.
Well, I don't think you do anything to. I mean, it's not in your hands if you get inducted to the Hall of Fame. It's depending on the people who vote you in, right?
Right.
But I mean, I've done 2,000 speeches in 76 countries over 30 years. So I guess, persistence and resilience, I guess, is you do something long enough, you get into the Hall of Fame.
How does your speaking help you? Because yes, you're speaking to the audience. They want you there as an expert to show your wisdom. But at the same time, how much are you gleaning about creativity by being at those conferences, being at an event, just walking among the people?
I like to give the example. I did a speech in India right before the pandemic for Tata. The Tata companies is one of the biggest group. Yeah, one of the Tata companies has 1 million employees. Just one of them. Then there's a bunch of other Tata companies. So I spoke at their conference, met all the CEOs of all the Tata companies, learned what they are thinking about right now. The other speaker was the speaker from the Indian space program. Now I learned about the Indian space program. But after that, I went and interviewed the children of sex workers in the slums of Mumbai because I wanted to get a totally different perspective of creativity. So now we have CEOs, space scientists, and children in the slums of Mumbai. In the same day, I interviewed all these 3 kinds of people about creativity in one day. That's creativity exploring.
Wow. I have no idea what that experience, because you're at 3 different levels all over in one day. What was it like emotionally for you to go through that exploration?
But it's not even unusual. So when I was in Edinburgh last week, I met with accountants. I spoke for accountants, and then in the night before, I interviewed one of Scotland's most famous jazz guitarists. And after my speech, I interviewed the head of AI of Scottish government. So I do this all the time. This is literally what I do. But this is literally what you do too.
True, but you're mining for data. You're mining for insights. So where does the overlap come from those creative conversations? They sound so separate, so diverse. Where do you find the nexus of those talks?
But I don't. So that's the thing. I'm only trying to find out, when I interview one person, I'm trying to find out what can I learn about creativity from this person. I want to learn something new that I didn't know from this person. That's all I care about. And then when I find that is the insight, and then I meet the other person, I want to find a different insight. So my interviews are going down rabbit holes until I learn something new. That's my approach.
So when we go back to the world of creativity, your new book, are some of these stories that you're interviewing right now going to fall in that book, or are they going to fall in the next book?
They like, for example, the girls in the slums of Mumbai, they are in the book. I don't remember. Yeah, the China girl, the copying right is there. Heimsker is there. So a few of them are there. But the AI lesson from Scottish government is not there, but it might make it into the world of creativity too.
How could you tease out the book? What would be the reason to buy the book, to read the book?
I just got a quote from someone who read the book, like pre-reader, and he said, Fredrik Haren is the Anthony Bourdain of creativity. You know how Anthony Bourdain traveled around the world? People thought, oh, he's doing that to understand food. No, he did that to understand humanity. And then he met with master chefs in New York, but he also went to a street vendor in Saigon. And I've done exactly the same thing. I interviewed a master chef in Mexico, and I met to an artist in Saigon. So but I don't study food. I study human creativity. So if you like Anthony Bourdain's approach to food, you will appreciate my approach to creativity. It's the same thing.
That's a pretty good endorsement.
Yeah.
So I want to go back in time a little bit, because I saw one of your videos. You were talking about creativity of virtual meetings. I teach, coach, consult on virtual leadership. I'm still not seeing our leaders embracing the virtual creativity that you speak of. I would love you to help share some of those insights, because I think we're limiting what people think is the tiny, small box versus the gateway to the world. Can you help me out here?
I think we should. I think that people who are bearish, that's when it's down, right? So the people who are negative about the concept of virtual creativity, like a lot of CEOs saying you have to come back to the office, creativity is dying. I think they are evaluating something too early. It's kind of like looking at giving someone access to the internet for 2 years and then say, you're not using internet correctly, it's not working, I think we would close the internet down. It takes a while for us to understand how to fully use a new tool. And the trick with virtual meetings or speaking or virtual creativity is to connect even though you are on a different screen, which I think you and I know this because we've been doing this. We are totally connecting. There's no different in how this conversation is flowing versus if you would actually sit in my geometric dome. There is zero difference. But a lot of people haven't really understood this yet, or they haven't experienced enough meetings, or they haven't reframed their brain and stopped thinking, oh, it's virtual, it's not real. Screw that, it is real. Just let's connect with the other person on the other side.
Absolutely. And I believe, like you said earlier, people are going to innovate after other people have done creative things. We'll add and change it. This is only beginning. This is just a starting point for the virtual communication world.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. And I mean, and it feels extremely natural to talk to you because you could feel that you have already passed that. It's kind of like whenever you start using a new tool, for in the beginning, you're awkward with the tool. And we have been awkward around digital meetings too. But after that, when you get used to the tool and you feel comfortable with the tool, suddenly you can create wonders with that tool.
Let me go to your website, because you do have a lot of information. You have books to read, you're speaking. Tell us about your website. What are they going to find there?
Well, I guess from the most interesting perspective, I do post more or less every week some insight about what I've learned about creativity during that week. So if you're interested in getting creativity inspiration, sign up for the newsletter. And then, of course, there's information about my speaking, and there are some links to my books. The new book, The World of Creativity, comes out 18th of December, right before Christmas.
Perfect timing for those Christmas sales, right? What has been the most creative thing that you have learned personally? Reflect on yourself for a minute here. You've traveled, you've spoken, but what's been maybe the biggest aha creative moment for you over your exploring?
You mean my best ideas or my biggest insight about creativity?
Your biggest insights. I stumped the creative. Look at that.
Well, sometimes you should think before you answer. You're asking a big question.
Yeah, I know. You've got all this information up there.
I think, okay, there's maybe not the biggest insight, but it's one of those that keep coming back when I interview the people that I think are the most creative. like the 0.001 most creative people. And that is to disconnect your ego from, disconnect yourself from your ego. Every time you're able to do that, your creativity just thrives. It's what is that? It's like the ego is like a virus. It's like a cancer. And ego is like a cancer. So anything you can do to get rid of your ego, and there are different things you can do. You can develop your curiosity. You can help others, and you can meditate. There are many avenues. In the book, I share some examples of what people have done to get rid of their egos.
Yeah.
But the common thread is get rid of your ego.
That's a big one. That's a great one. I think to wind down the show. Get rid of the ego to open up creativity, because your ego is blocking you, right?
Yes, the ego is there screaming. Ego distracts you because it start to make you feel that it's about you. One of the people I interviewed was in Vietnam. She runs a pottery studio, and all the tourists come there and they want to do pottery. And then they've seen what they want to do online, and they show a picture and say, I want to do a vase like this, but they have never done pottery before. And then they start creating it, and then the vase doesn't look like anything like the picture, of course. It's the first time they're doing it. Now they get angry and they throw it on the ground. And she says, the first thing we need to do in our classes is to get people to get rid of the ego, which means you're comparing what you're doing with what someone else is doing, and say, let's just see what the clay wants to do today. Right? Let's have that approach today.
Fredrik Heren, thanks for taking the time to be with us today from your beautiful, beautiful island. I think it's great that you have a little slice of the world all to yourself. Thank you very much, Fredrik.
Hey, thank you. It was very enjoyable.
Fredrik Heren, and again, you want to get his books, learn more about what he's doing, what's going on, where he's going to next, because he is continuing to travel the world, explore, find more answers, and search out a world of global creativity. And I think it's great. The very beginning of our conversation was, we're more alike than we are different. I think it's amazing. He can travel the world, and he walks into an office, and there's still a Star Wars character in a foreign land hanging out in a creative office. It makes you feel good that we're not that different. That's going to do it for this edition of Rock the Stage Show. I'm the Trigger, Rich Bontrager. Come back next week. We're going to have another great, exciting conversation. Again, highly unscripted. You don't know where we're going to go, what we're going to find out. But it's always lots of fun and fascinating people from around the world right here on Rock the Stage. We'll see you at 7 p.m. Sunday nights on Rock the Stage Show.